I feel as though I should have discussed this way earlier, as Dragon Ball is something I care about way too much to just not share my opinions on it. But news keeps coming and inevitably more trailers, so I might as well give my thoughts on it while it's still relatively early. Before I get started, I should say that just about everything about this film is looking really good. The music, potential story, animation, and especially the revamped character art style is making this movie to be the best Dragon Ball has ever looked. So first I'll give my thoughts on all the existing material and then give my hopes for the stuff we still don't know about yet. I might as well give my thoughts on the animation and art style right away, as it's the most noticeable departure from modern Dragon Ball. From what was once the stiff, bland, and shiny style that plagued Super for so long has finally been transformed into something that looks, alive. The obnoxious highlights and blocky anatomy has been shelved for round and stretchy line work, along with naturally loose character shapes. I guess the best way to put it is to say Goku looks like he has actual weight for once. In comparison with most of Super, the trailer displays minute character acting that wasn't possible with the previous designs. For the majority of Super, Goku looked fine at best. He performed a few stock poses and had even fewer facial expressions. And that's all he was really capable of. Because of just how oppressive the characters' designs were, every time there was any sort of real energy and passion in the art, it was due to the animators breaking from the established style. This is by all means an absolute worst scenario, and Super was living in it. So I think you can understand the excitement me and most others had when the new designs were released, along with the news that the previous animation supervisor was canned for Shintani, who was selected by Toriyama to recreate everything that was closer to his modern style. I don't think I need to argue this point any longer. In general, the simpler, rounder approach allows for animators to draw a greater number of frames, which increases fluidity, as well as add a more stylistic flair without compromising its identity. For example, you can easily tell which portions of the trailer were animated by Takahashi and which parts were by Tate, yet they both blend together quite nicely under Shintani's broad umbrella. Separate from the line work, I really do appreciate the new color palette. Just about everybody is sporting lighter and more pleasing color choices. Again, if we just focus on Goku, the improvement is immediately noticeable. His once overly saturated orange gi is now a pleasant tangerine color. Vegeta's equally distracting bright blue has been toned way down for a darker, duller navy color. But the biggest change is within the Super Saiyan hair colors. For the first time since DBZ, Super Saiyan actually looks like real blonde hair. What used to be stiff, bright yellow Lego hair is now soft and fluffy. I think this might be the very first time where Super Saiyan Blue doesn't look totally. Also, I want to point out that the Arctic landscape is a really awesome location for this movie to take place in. For once, it's a unique setting in the world of Dragon Ball, with I believe only 2 movies exploring a similar setting. Secondly, having a white backdrop is really good for bringing out the color of the characters to the forefront. It makes everybody pop out on the screen without resorting to making the colors overly saturated and ugly. Anyway, most people care about the narrative more than the technical side of things, so I should discuss it now. I'll be honest, when the announcement came out that Broly was going to be the main antagonist in this movie, I was seriously disappointed. I just couldn't understand why a movie that had made such an effort to distinguish itself as something new and refreshing would choose to revert back to Broly, arguably the most tired and basic Dragon Ball villain to date. Broly has 3 movies about him already, as well as a million appearances in video games and side stories. Why would I ever want to see a brand new movie about the same old premise that has already been done to death? But then I gave the idea some thought. The most important element that I considered was that all of the original DBZ films were non-canon, including the story of Broly. Along with the announcement of Broly was an excerpt that explained that this version of Broly was going to be a reboot with a reworked story by Toriyama. Then the possibilities of this movie became apparent. What really excited me was that this movie has the opportunity to fully explore the origins for Broly, Frieza, Vegeta, and Goku in a single film. From the shots in the trailer with the promotional material, it really looks like this might be the case. If this movie can weave the stories of every main character together and tie it all together in the end, that would just be so cool. This movie went from being uninspired to me to having more potential than any other film before it. An appropriate place to end this discussion is with the man Broly himself. In my personal opinion, the redesign for Broly is miles better than the original, which is a little weird because the original was completely fine. But there's something about the way he looks now that is so much smoother than his original appearance. The color palette is more organic, the purple and green scheme fits the Saiyan vegetable gimmick pretty well. One major concern prior to the trailer release was that the huge hulking monster would not fit the new, softer approach by Shintani. Fortunately, this is totally not the case. The new style actually fits the body mass of Broly quite well. Instead of looking like a bunch of blocky parts awkwardly scrunched together, Broly looks like a single complete shape. All in all, Broly's new look is pretty amazing, and I can't wait to see it in the theater. But it wouldn't be very honest of me to just talk about everything I like. I do have a few concerns that may end up being a significant detriment to the overall experience. The first thing I really didn't like about this movie is the official poster. Yeah, it's just a bunch of characters slapped awkwardly against one another, with no semblance of scale or composition. It's really not a big deal in the slightest, but people buy and hang on to posters as mementos for their favorite franchises, so having them be kind of ugly is a disservice. But whatever, it's not the biggest deal. There's also a few unreleased clips outside of the trailer that look fairly mediocre. I know a part of this is because the footage is still in its production phase, but it still gives off the same bland, stock fighting exchanges that has seriously plagued the series for a long time now. Two figures just sort of rotating around each other while shockwaves and blasts ricochet off around them. I think it's mostly due to how limited the CGI is. The figures look fine enough in static images, but in motion they appear way too rigid and limited in comparison to the 2D stuff. In a setting where this would be the format, it's fine enough. For example, in Fighters it looks amazing, but when the two are meshed together it's really jarring. There's a little cohesion between the methods. A better way of merging them would be to use solely 3D on the backgrounds, such as clouds in the sky. Attack on Titan does this and it looks fine. If corners have to be cut, I would rather have the non-essential details before the character animation. So, everything considered, I'm excited for this movie and I can't wait to see it with everybody in the theaters just a few months from now. A few years ago, I never would have imagined that the already old and humble show that I once loved as a kid would return with such force with a full theatrical release. Oh well. Also, I kind of want to add at the end that I'm not going to be able to record and make videos with such frequency as I have been during the summer. And that's mostly because you've probably already noticed I've been doing a lot of videos that don't require talking. The only reason I was able to do this was because I went home. So anyway, see you next time. I think I'll discuss Star Wars. Yeah.